Speaking of your childhood, how would you describe your upbringing?
Oh, it was very traditional at that time. My father was the boss of the house, although my mother really ran the place. And
Right.
my father was always aloof and not very involved in what we were doing, but whereas my mother was more engaged.
Was there ever anything your parents did that you knew you never wanted to do as a parent?
Well, I think the whole idea of the way my father's attitude toward the children was, to me, not. I mean, today I would say it was unacceptable. I didn't use those kind of terminology at the time, but
Right.
I didn't feel close to him, and even after many years later when I was an adult, but still never really connected with him in an emotional way.
Right.
I did with my mother. I mean, she did care, and so there was certainly love there, but not with my father. And so,
You don't think he cared?
well, I think he did more than he showed, but he didn't have the right kind of ability to express himself. I mean, that was in those days, particularly men were very straight-laced and held themselves back. So hugging or kissing or something would not have been part of the vocabulary.
You and Gam have been married for, it's going to be 57 years in July.
Right.
That's kind of crazy. You've been married for a very long time. And you met in high school, right?
Yes. When we first met, I would have been 17. Well, we knew each other earlier in high school, but we started dating when I was 17, she was 18, and so we dated through the last 3-4 months of high school.
Right.
Went to the senior prom together.
What was your first impression of her?
Well, she was pretty, and she liked to dance.
Yeah.
And we seemed to, get along pretty well. I mean, I was still, well, I still am to some degree, shy, and it was not easy necessarily for me to talk to somebody like that. So she was easy to talk to, and made me feel comfortable, and it was fun to have somebody to kiss.
And what was it like? I mean, you were a teenager predominantly, I guess, in like the 50s and early 60s. What was it like to be a teenager back then?
Rock and roll was here to stay. I didn't have many dates until when I became a senior and I started dating your grandmother.
Was there like one moment where you realized that you wanted to marry her?
Well, when we were in high school, that was not in the cards.
Yeah.
Neither one of us really wanted to get married. I don't think she did.
Right.
Again, we were both young. I was 20.
Right.
22. No, not even 20. I was 21. She was 22.
Yeah. That's very young.
So we didn't really know what we were doing. But sometimes it can work out, and in our case it did.
Right. I mean, what do you think is the reason, it's worked for almost 60 years?
Well, we both were reasonably flexible, and we have learned, and this didn't happen right away, but it's happened over the many years as we've learned to recognize when we're having problems and learn how to talk to each other about them.
And I only have one last question, actually. So, you can cheer internally. How do you want to be remembered?
Well, I guess the highlights would be as the husband of Phyllis and for so many years, and our happy relationship, and the father of Gwen and Kevin, and grandfather of our two great-great-aides.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are most meaningful